Hi there guys, this is Don from Prana-Tech. Today I want to do a review of this YesWelder that I got from Amazon. I believe this is the best deal going on Amazon right now. I've looked around at a bunch of different Mig Welders, and for the money I don't see anything out there that can come close to this. I bought this welder because I had sold my big Hobart Ironman 250 about a year ago because I wanted to learn how to TIG weld aluminum. I bought a nice TIG, and then after a while I was like, well, I really would like another MIG, but I didn't want to spend the money for, you know, a great big 250 amp Hobart or Miller. So I just looked around for inexpensive 200 amp MIG that I could build some projects, and so I came across this one on Amazon and I thought I'd give it a shot. One of the things I'd like to say is that this welder has blown me away. I cannot believe the features that this welder has and what it's done. I've owned it for about 2.5 months now, and this thing, I have put it through the ringer over and over, building a bunch of different projects. I'll link to a cement mixer project that I did earlier a couple weeks ago, and I ran this thing through every version of welding that I could come up with. Uphill, downhill, upside down. I welded it, and this thing performed incredible. One of the things that has really blown me away is the duty cycle on this welder. This welder, my Miller that I sold, before I had my Hobart, I had a Miller 210, and that thing had a 60% duty cycle at 160 amps. This thing has a 60% duty cycle at 200 amps. So it's way, way above what the Miller is, and same with my Hobart. The Ironman had about a 60% duty cycle at 160, 165 amps. This one, at 154 amps, has 100% duty cycle. I've welded with this thing steady for 45 minutes and this welder never shut off. And I think I was welding at about 150 amps for most of that. I was welding 1/4 inch. And this thing has never even glitched, nothing. It has a complete metal gear drive for the drive wheels for the MIG wire, which is something in a lot of the cheaper welders you get, you know, some plastic and some metal drives. This one, the entire drive is metal, heavy duty wheels with spring adjustment, just like my Miller or my Hobart. I just wanted to bring this out there and put it out because a lot of people are looking for a great welder for a decent price, and this one it welds incredible. One of the things that I never have owned a inverter welder before. All the ones I've had are traditional transformer welders. This one is an inverter welder, and it's a dual voltage. I can hook it up to 110 or 220. And that's really handy for if you want to take it, you know, public or, you know, mobile, and go down the road and be able to MIG weld away from your house and just be able to plug it in wherever, or out in the yard if you want to weld up your fence. Those are things that are really handy, and most of the welders don't have that, especially the 200 amp welders. This one does, and one of the great benefits to it is the fact that it will weld really smooth. I've welded a lot of MIG. I've been welding for 35 years, and this welder welds smoother than any welder I've ever owned. The Miller or the Hobart that I owned, they worked great, but I always seem to get a lot of splatter, even with gas. I don't know what it is about the inverter welder, this particular one, but I will show you. I'll do some welds here. I've got some 3/16 inch and some 1/8 inch plate that I'm going to do some welds and show how nice this thing welds. And you'll be able to see. I don't know what it is, but the splatter doesn't seem to stick. I don't know if it has something to do with the inverter or what, but it welds really, really smooth, and I'm really, really impressed. This welder has a lot of features that more expensive welders have.
So I had to freeze the video right here because I misspoke and called the feature I was about to talk about induction, and it's really called inductance. So that's one of the cool features about this welder. It's pretty advanced, and you can set your inductance high or low, and it's great for doing smooth buttery welds on high inductance and harder sharper welds like for edge welds on outside corners and things like that. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about this welder. So that's why I froze the video for just a second to talk to you about that.
So stay with me and I'll show you some welds and show you how nice this welder welds, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Here I'll show you a quick view all around the welder so you can see the features and what the outside looks like. This is the side case, and I'll show you the front view with it on. It's got a very simple control panel, one dial you set your amperage with, and it automatically sets the voltage and wire speed, so it's a very simple welder to use. It's one of the easiest I've ever welded with, and I think it's one of the great features of this welder. Here's a side case showing you the inside. One of the things that should be noted is that it only takes large spools. You can't put the small spools on it. You can also see that it has all metal drive for the rollers. It's very similar to a Miller or Lincoln or a Hobart. It's one of the things that I was very impressed with this welder, and one of the things they didn't skimp on was the adjustable drive mechanism. All around, it's a very high quality setup. You can see in the bottom there I have a bag of consumables, the tips, and I bought it because I've almost always had to use some, and I've not had to use one since I've had this welder, which is pretty amazing since I almost always would stick a tip every now and then on my other welders. Here I'm going to show you just some welds on a stand that I'm making. Show you how smooth it welds. I should have taken some close-ups, but you can get the idea just from watching this. This is 1-inch tubing with a 16th inch wall. Alright, so here I'm getting set up for welding some 3/16, a little bit thicker material, so you can see how it does with some fillet welds on a 90-degree. Sped it up a little bit so you don't have to sit through the whole welding process, and you can see just how smooth this thing welds. This was dirty, kind of hot rolled steel that I didn't clean that great, but it'll still give you a pretty good idea. A little bit of brown silicone buildup floated to the surface, but you can see just how nice this thing welds. It's an amazing welder. Great penetration. This one I've got the inductance set at about 5 on the positive side on this welder, and 3/16 thickness. This is some more 16th inch that I'm welding. It's a small square tube, 1/2 inch to 1x2 16th inch wall. You can see how nice this welds as well. I'll show you a close-up here in just a second. This one's a little bit hotter weld, a little bit deeper penetration. Still working out exact settings on this welder, but you can see that it does great. It's an amazing welder. I love it.
Alright guys, so that's it for the YesWelder MiG 205. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's a really amazing welder for the price. It was $369 on Amazon, and right now they have a coupon if you click on the button right below the price. for another 15% off. So I got this delivered to my house for $314 plus tax. For the money, I don't think there's anything on Amazon that can come close to touching this. It's an amazing welder. If you look at my welds, you can see how smooth it welds. Obviously, I'm not a professional welder. You can tell by my welds. I've been welding for 35 years, but I'm also 53. So my eyes aren't as good as they used to be, and I can't hold the width of my bead as good as I used to. But you can tell that there isn't a whole bunch of slag and splatter around the welds, and you can see how smooth it welds. And it's an amazing welder for the price. I can't believe it's still welding. I have put it through so many hours of welding over the last 2.5 months that if it was going to have a problem, it would have by now. So, like I said, I'm very amazed by this welder. For the money, I don't think there's anything close to it out there. So if you want a reasonable welder, if you're beginning welding, this one's easy to use. You can go, there's a couple other videos that a guy by the name of Zook 4x4, Z-U-K 4x4, he is on YouTube, and he's done a couple of reviews of the welder and shows how to set it up. I actually watched his videos before I bought this welder, and I have to say I'm amazed at how well it welds. So, hope you enjoy this. If you, just as a disclaimer, I didn't get this welder free. I paid my own money for it, and YesWelder doesn't sponsor me or anything like that. I just wanted to put this out there as one of the greatest deals I've found. So if you need a welder and you're beginning to weld, this would be a great starter welder. And even if you've been welding for a long time and you just want a portable MIG that welds incredibly, I would buy one of these. It's an amazing welder. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you like my channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Give me a thumbs up if you want. I would appreciate it. And thanks. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.